Hey, what is up guys? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to Gran Turismo 7. In today's video I'm going to be talking about the recently revealed car silhouettes that Kaz posted on Saturday morning. These are for update 1.38, and whilst there is a clear overarching theme here in terms of Japanese hatchbacks, it's kind of been praised by some and absolutely hated on by others. Now let's be honest, people will just moan about Gran Turismo 7 for the sake of moaning about GT7. For me personally, I'm rather quite excited, especially for two of these. There is one that I think is just a bit of a weak addition, to be honest, and I would have rather seen it being replaced by something else. But first of all, apologies for this video being late. I was at Silverstone for the BTCC, and when I got home yesterday I just really didn't want to make a video. So let's get straight into it with the first car of the bunch, and this was the one that was leaked prior to the car silhouettes coming out. This is the Mazda 3 Group 4, but what exactly is it? So it's a mix of, I guess, two different race variants of the Mazda 3. One being the Super, where it will kind of closely resemble the base version, just with a wide body. Again, this is kind of the base styling of the car, but it's also a bit of a mix of the Mazda 3 TCR project that kind of got off the ground in 2020 and then was completely abandoned before it ever became a proper thing. As you can see, these are both of the variants here, and the car does retain that big wing that the TCR version was planned to have. So it does seem like a bit of a mixture of both. In terms of the car itself, it's obviously a Group 4. It's an FF layout instead of the road going version, which is the four-wheel drive. So again, in terms of it being competitive, maybe at a handful of tracks, or all of a sudden it could completely break BOP. It will be kind of interesting to see just how popular this car becomes. Do I think this one is necessarily a popular choice for race cars? We have been asking for them and they have essentially listened in that sense. But do I think this is a choice that many people would have gone for? Absolutely not. I don't think anyone would have predicted this necessarily coming to GT7. It just seems like a car that's kind of been in the planning for the last few months and then bam, it's there. I don't think people would necessarily gravitate towards wanting a race variant of the Mazda 3. But it does mean that we have a new addition to Group 4. Personally, for me, I would have much rather have seen one of the more iconic race cars return to Gran Turismo 7, but look, we've asked, we've got, but we have to kind of then make do. Personally, I'm not too excited for this one. As soon as I saw the leak, I was like, okay, yep, new race car, but is it necessarily one that the sort of player base wants? Not really, but in a sense, I can see why they actually did this, considering it's still essentially a fantasy car in a sense, that they can just get away with, not putting the money out for the rights to, say bring something like the Opel Calibra back, or the, Toyota GT1 and stuff like that. So I guess from that sense of sort of holding money back, it makes sense. But in terms of the player base, I think most people will just be like, okay, fair enough, new Group 4 FF, okay. So yeah, I'm personally not too excited for this one. However, the other two cars in this update I actually am genuinely looking forward to. So let's start off with the newest one of the bunch. Finally, it's going to be the brand new Honda Civic Type R, the FL5 variant. Now for me, this one does feel quite long overdue, considering Polyphony is a Japanese developer and this is one of the more popular up-to-date Japanese cars. To see this one not actually make it into the game until now does seem like it is massively long overdue. However, for me, I am very much excited to have this car in the game. Again, it continues the trend of more modern cars coming to GT7. Obviously, we've had the likes of the Aston Martin Valkyrie, we've had the Corvette C8, and now, out of the blue, the Honda Civic Type R FL5. Now this for me is a great addition. Again, it just adds more bolster to all the different generations of Honda Civic, kind of like what we're getting with the Corvettes, with the only one being missing is the C5. And there's actually going to be two Honda Civics in this update. One isn't necessarily a standard Honda Civic, and I'll talk about that a little bit later, but this is going to be the base version of the FL5, no race mods, just the standard road going version. And again, it is the most modern car of this update. Now this is one that a lot of people, myself included, have wanted to come to the game for a very, very long time, and like I said, it almost feels overdue at this point, considering like I said, Polyphony are Japanese devs, and this is a Japanese vehicle. Seeing this one come so late, just, yeah, definitely feels overdue. But it is a great addition, to be quite honest, and I am looking forward to this, especially as someone that owns a Honda Civic Type R, you know, fanboy or what, who cares? So yes, there is a clear Japanese theme to this one, all based on Japanese hatchbacks, and the most modern of the bunch is that the Honda Civic Type R FL5. Decent addition in my opinion, but definitely feels overdue. So now let's move on to the surprise of the bunch, and a car that I didn't ever think would make it to GT7. I think this car's been something like maybe 5 or 6 years in the making. This won the Gran Turismo SEMA award all the way back in, I believe, 2017. This is the pandem body kitted Honda Civic EG. Now this is the RCR Garage, so it's a custom variant. So what will happen is when it comes into the game, it will have the RCR Garage added to the dealership. This car will be put in there pretty much like the other SEMA winners. Instead of it falling into the likes of Honda, it will probably fall into the RCR Garage, which will be a new addition to Brand Central. I'm assuming that it will fall into the dealership and not the used dealership, kind of alongside the more older SEMA winners, that they won't kind of then put it into the used car dealership. I'm pretty much certain it'll work that way. So what is it? Well, it's a Honda Civic EG with a pandem body kit and some insane aggressive looks. It's essentially a full-blown time attack version of the Honda Civic EG, meaning that 2 out of 3 of these cars are Honda Civics. This one for me though, the EG in any shape or form, is great to see in the game. This is a car that for me is one of the kind of base staples of a Gran Turismo game. Whether you're playing the likes of Gran Turismo 2, Gran Turismo 4, more than likely you gravitated to something at the start of the game along the lines of the Honda Civic EG, and it is great to see it in game. So no, it is not the base version, which means no, sadly we can't go ahead and customize it ourselves, but it is a pretty wild and crazy version. Full pandem body kit. It looks absolutely insane, and I'm genuinely excited for this one. Now, what actually happened to this car? So as I mentioned, it won SEMA in I believe 2017, meaning that it's around about 6 years later, and actually rounds up all of the Gran Turismo SEMA award winning cars. So now I believe all of them are in the game in some shape or form. But what actually happened to it? So I believe there was kind of a whole sort of, I think, sort of copyright issue, I want to say. So basically they couldn't get the licenses for the pandem body kit probably until now. That's the only thing. That's kind of what's been going around about this car, was the reason that it never actually came, because they couldn't get the sort of rights to use the pandem body kit, but they must have all of a sudden gone ahead and got the rights to do that. So pandem body kit, Civic EG is coming to the game, and that rounds up all 3 of the new cars and covers all of the silhouettes. But what's the bonus information I'm about to give you? Well, as we all know, in the previous update, that was absolutely divisively split in terms of early access cars and all that kind of stuff. It was a ridiculous decision. But now, obviously, with the 28th of September coming around, you will now be able to buy the Toyota GR Corolla from Brand Central, as well as the Toyota HiMedic. So expect both of those cars to also be available for this update. So if you did go ahead and miss the early access of those cars, you can now pick them up. So let's say for you guys that might have ignored it, you're going to get 5 cars and essentially 3 new ones. But yes, they are now buyable, so expect to be able to pick up your own GR Corolla. In terms of price points, it's not really known. I'd expect probably the GR Corolla to be in the sort of region of 50 to 100,000 credits, so not too expensive. Maybe along lines the of the Yaris GR that we have in the game, maybe a bit more expensive. It is a very good car, so if you haven't actually tried it, I do recommend. In terms of HiMedic, again, I just haven't got a clue. I'd expect it to not be too expensive, but who knows, with Polyphony, it's an ambulance. They could just absolutely inflate the price to a ridiculous level. So yes, there is 3 new cars coming, and 2 of the early access cars will be now able to be bought from Brand Central on September the 28th when the game does update. So thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to leave a like, comment and subscribe. Turn your notifications on so you don't miss an upload from me. I upload GT7 and motorsport related content each and every day for your viewing pleasure, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care guys. Peace.